Oh boy, this is fun. I hope I don't have to do this in ZZZ. Specifically trying to get the perfect Rezonia by restarting over and over with less than 0% chance. That would be really bad. Right? Right? Welcome to part 3 of my mental torture, Zenless Zone 1, where a loser with too much time on his hands tries to beat Hollow Zero on maximum difficulty using only level 1 characters. Picking up after we left off, the final gate that blocks us before we can access the Withering Garden is the core versions of the areas around it. First off is the abandoned skyscrapers just because it's my favorite zone. No, and it's not because it reminds me of this scene. Okay, maybe just a bit. The Dr. Hallow Raider gives a damage buff based on how much health you've already lost. And with us being level 1, we don't really care much about our HP since we'll just get one shot anyway. This is already the core version, so Rezonias don't just matter or enable runs now, they become required. Obviously, the set bonuses of Shield and Assault Rezonia are the main targets, but luckily, we don't need anything aside from them, so it's very likely to get them without resetting the runs. One thing to watch out for though is the Vital View Rezonia. Take some time to think before you pick this one up because Vital View can mess up your timing against the twins. Or, you could just They have many attacks that last long, and Vital View does not protect us from the attack that comes after the Vital View ends. Their gimmick is not the typical Phase 2, Phase 3 type of boss. That's why they're my favorite. Not just that, but they're really fun to fight against, like we're taking turns in an orchestrated performance. There are a couple of attacks that can spell trouble for us though. The first is the Bullet Fan, and it reminds me of Toho. Anby and Soldier 11 can block the bullets, but if you have to dodge, you dodge towards the bullets, not away from it, because the iframes you need to cross over is shorter than using the iframes to let it pass by. Also, in the part where they dash a lot, you can just run around in a circle, but of course, dodge the part where they land on you. The most important thing that I should note about this fight is the use of stun storage. Basically, you can interrupt the revival of the other twin if you ult or stun the other twin who's reviving the other. Okay, that's confusing, but basically, you build up the days meter of the one you're not going to kill before you kill the other one, just in case you need to interrupt the revival. Also, save your ults for this moment if you need to. Next in line is the Construction Ruins. Krabby is the weakest of the three. The Lone Shark NPC who gives the Gear Coin Research Rezonium here is great, but just don't strike a deal with this guy. There's no way you win in this transaction even if you get the Corrupted Rezonia, since you could have gotten another useful one instead. The non-negotiable Rezonias for this boss is just the 4-piece Assault Rezonia. That's it. We don't need the dodge and shield here, but it is nice to have them. He has a lot of attacks that don't one-shot us, and the attacks that deal a lot of damage anyway are very slow. I strongly discourage trying this challenge, but if you do want to try this, then there are a few things that you need to know if you're going in this fight. First is damage storage. If you don't do this, then it's highly likely that you will not get to the Impair threshold before the stun bar runs out. Damage storage is mostly about holding onto your damage sources before you can stun the boss, like your energy, your ults, your buff stacks, and most importantly, your anomaly. I cannot stress enough how important anomaly is in damage storage. Most Rezonia in disk drives rely on the activation of anomalies, so if you can, do not activate that anomaly before you stun the boss. The only way to activate anomalies is if you have the anomaly meter at 100% and if you use a heavy attack related to that anomaly. So things like EX specials, ultimates, charge attacks, and QTEs. Also, the character activating this effect must be on the field, so if you want to cancel the activation, you can just swap to the next character and save that anomaly for later. As for the workaround of the fight itself, if we stay on the leg near the chainsaw, then we're all good. This is because the chainsaw attacks are so much slower so we can dodge it, but the drill attack comes out quickly. So it helps a lot that it needs to travel further since we're staying here on the left side. The laser can be dodged just by running around them. The only two attacks that we need to watch out for is the rockets and the tail sweep. We can use Anby or Soldier 11 to run around and be invincible to these rockets. The other way around it is to just use dodge counters. For the tail sweep, dodging it seems to be inconsistent because of the weird hitbox, so this move alone deserves a parry. The rest of the fight is rinse and repeat, and that's another boss down. Lastly, my best friend Dead End Butcher, or Debbie for short. Let's just say Debbie does not like guests, mostly on phase 2. Rarely does Debbie have an attack that has only one instance of damage. Parrying does not stop Debbie from performing follow-up moves. Debbie is a Giga Chad and will continue attacking even after getting parried. So here's the problem. Phase 2 Debbie has attacks that has either delayed follow-ups or instant follow-ups. All of these attacks one-shot us. Now you can say this is a skill issue. Well, yeah, I'm not going to deny that, but to put it into perspective how hard this is, think about it this way. we can only get hit once. Well, twice with the shield. Our other characters deal almost no damage because all the Rezonia is on Piper. That means if she dies, we have to restart the run. Also, since our characters are level 1, the damage is not enough to burst Debbie. All we can really do is perfectly dodge any and every attack because parrying puts us in the way of the attacks instead of out of them. After around 20 attempts, I knew this wasn't going to be possible. Not unless I pull out the technique I haven't used since the closed beta 2. The 6 dodge. This technique is used to be temporarily immortal. I didn't want to use this yet because this was made to counter the final boss. The idea is that dodge cooldown is only assigned per character. That means if you switch characters, the dodge cooldown is reset. This allows you to do 2 more dodges and another 2 if you have a full team. With this tech, you can do 6 dodges in a row, hence the name. This is really easy to do. Just double dodge, switch to the next character, and repeat. One thing to note about this though is that you have to switch characters right after you initiate the second dodge, because characters on the field will get hit unless of course they are in the middle of dodging. The good thing about this though is that if a boss is going to attack right before you switch, then you trigger either a parry or a perfect dodge anyway because switching characters has that weird mechanic. So 6 dodging is usable even if you don't have the parry bars anymore. This is good for escaping Debbie's attack when Debbie goes full on Starburst stream for 20 hit combo or something. Each of those hits will kill us, so we do not want to be in the area at all if Debbie is attacking. I really didn't want to use this technique because it trivializes anything except the final boss. So consider this to be me accepting that I can't win against the Dead End Butcher at Hollow Zero Core with only level 1. But maybe someone will someday. With me abusing the heck out of 6 dodge, Debbie was done in 2 attempts. Post-edit Salah here, so I already kinda did that, but hey, I swear, it sounded way cooler in my head, man. Now this is it. Hollow Zero Core. Hoyo really can't beat the music company allegations. The soundtrack here is just so peak, man. Just listen to it. Banger game design and music aside, this is already really hard compared to the previous levels. The floor bosses are starting to get really tanky, and I can only imagine the suffering I will endure throughout this climb. Other than that, there's really nothing worthy of note as of now. For some reason, the flower girl here does not one-shot us unlike the first bosses, but I'm pretty sure that will change pretty soon. Ether 3 gives us 3 modifiers. The first doesn't really do much, we get one-shot by bosses anyway, and the small enemies are pretty easy to deal with, so no biggie. 50 pressure per floor might be a problem, but ultimately, as long as it's not weak in dodge, then it's all good. The big problem is the very thing that is feared by all. Inflation. This will definitely deny some important power spikes and will generally just lower our Rezonia value since there are other important utility Rezonia as well, like Vital View and Dodge Counter Rezonia. Good news is that this is pretty much the same as the base level. Aside from starting to get one-shot, of course. This just means that Shield Rezonia starts to become non-negotiable. Ether 6 adds some trouble, but again, increased enemy attack and lower HP for us doesn't really matter in this challenge since, you know, we just get one-shot anyway. The debuff to pressure reduction could matter, but what's the worst that could happen, am I right? What the fuck? What's really annoying about this Ether level is that the HP of bosses are scaled up again. That means we need to get the 4-piece bonus of physical Rezonia even before the first boss. Luckily, there's a redraw feature now for Rezonias, so it's highly unlikely that we don't get it. This took me 3 runs to finish, mostly because I realized that I needed to get the correct utility Rezonias, mostly on the dodge Rezonia. They help out a lot when dealing with Flower Girl and their little bees. Like, a lot, to the point that it's required in Ether 9. Woof! Oh boy, Ether 9. Okay, I'm not even gonna say anything, just watch. Yes, Not even abusing 6 dodge is enough to beat this level. The final boss simply has too much HP. Paired with the anomaly build-up resistance, it just makes it really hard. Imagine having to proc assault 50 times without messing up once. That's the margin of error for this level. That's why, if we either get the 5th corruption or we can dodge, then we just straight up drop the run. Between the amount of bees you have to deal with and being one hit by even the needles, well, let's just say it's impossible. Trust me, bro. It also doesn't help that the RNG can completely mess this run up if it wants to. I even resorted to filling up my HP using Avocado and using some attack reduction and defense of Rizonia, but nothing. This is just pure hell. I decided that it needs a perfect run for it to be possible, but we need a lot of things to make up the perfect run. The definition of a perfect run is different for each setup, but for this setup specifically, here's how it goes. First, we need the 8-piece Assault Rizonia so we can deal with the small piece. If we don't execute them immediately, then it's going to be very hard to continue the fight without getting hit. The execute from the crit Rizonia is not very reliable, so it has to be this one. Also, because Viper uses assault for damage and does not crit anyway. Second, of course, we need the shield Rizonia. We need either the one that gives the shield using EX special or the perfect dodge. It's good to have either, but better if both. Third is the vital view dodge Rizonia. This is needed so we can safely take out the tentacles and the small bees during the time stop. Without this, it's just way too risky to deal with either of them. Fourth is something that we shouldn't be looking for: defenses. There is a way to not get one-shot by bosses, but we need defense Rizonia, attack reduction Rizonia, and Avocado. Not for the healing, but for the damage reduction. I mean, sure, for the healing as well, since we're not gonna get one-shot. With all these defenses, we barely get by if we get hit once. But it takes too much hassle to build up because we need to prioritize damage over all of these. But this will help us immensely if completed. The problem is, we already use up all our gear coin and Rizonia refreshes to get our damage already. So to complete all of these, we need to rely purely on luck. Reset after reset, I hunted for these combos, and I computed the possibility of me getting this done. Assuming I have an average luck and get 40 Rizonia per run, 10 of those are allocated to other Rizonia like Bamboo, Artifice, Hollow, and Research Rizonia. In 30 Rizonia, 20 of those should be allocated to finding the correct combination of Shield, Dodge, and Assault Rizonia. In 10, I have the freedom to choose between anything else. 10 sounds like a lot, especially because you usually have a choice between 3, unless you get that corruption. But in reality, there's a lot more to consider, like the fact that I will need 4 Assault Rizonia before the first boss, and also all the shopping trips I have is allocated towards the 20 relevant Rizonia. The buffs we are looking for are Blast Shield, Flak Jacket, Steel Handsaw, Gong of Jubilation, any other general Rizonia that gives defenses or attack reduction to the enemy, and Avocado. Without all of these, it's just one shot. That's 6 specific Rizonia, and assuming we already get the 30 relevant ones we need out of the pool, that's still 138 Rizonia in the pool, and that's excluding the ones you cannot get naturally. Getting 6 of them specifically in any order is 0.0000265%. That's the kind of run we're aiming for. That's 1 in 3,773,585 runs. To put this into perspective, you're almost 247 times more likely to get struck by lightning. Or if you're a math nerd, that's like getting heads 22 times in a row, whatever floats your boat. Anyway, that's why I had to reduce the amount of characters in my character pool to 3. The more characters in the pool, the more types of Rizonia will appear. Having only the Assault and Electric Rizonia cuts down the number of total Rizonia of the pool to 60. That's a huge upgrade, but that's still 1 in 3,333. Also, the obvious downside is that I can get less cannon fodder, and the no-hit rule has become very strict. The amount of runs I took are so many that I lost count, but I'm pretty sure it's above 30. Okay, now that I think about it, 30 plus runs is quite a lot, especially because most of them reach around 50 minutes each. But on the bright side, that's a lot less than the expected amount of runs we needed to do. Let's not forget that Rizonia is only half the fight. The real fight had only just begun. The final boss buffed all the way to Ether 9 is no joke. Come too close and you risk getting hit by the small bees who are hovering just outside of range. Get too far and you will be blasted by the Flower Girl's laser beams. It's a good thing we have the Vital View Rizonia for these moments, so we can activate it and deal with the small bees while Flower Girl doesn't have enough time to target us with the laser beams. The damage of the level ones are not enough. They instantly get executed after dealing 2 instances of assaults. Doing this over and over is the way to go. We are careful not to get hit by anything because we will literally die from it. The problem is the transition phase where she turns into a flower, spawns tentacles, then launches homing missiles. Vital View's effects become so important here to reposition, kill 1 stack of vines, then continue running around. While Vital View's effect is on cooldown, 6 dodge is the only way we can get out of this phase alive. While these needles won't necessarily kill us, the hit stun it will give can combo into vine attacks. We're good as dead if we get hit by one of them. We can't just ignore these tentacles either. We need to clear out as much so we can give space for the upcoming fight. Piper's ult is really good here because because it has a lot of iframes while also weeding out the tentacles. This is where most of my runs end because it's really hard to keep track of everything with the tentacles and all. Don't ask me how many times I went through this, but endpoint is, we did it. After that phase is done, the next part is a victory lap. Just activate Vital View, execute the small bees, then beat the heck out of Flower Girl. Rinse and repeat. After all that, Ether Activity 9 is finally cleared. If you got this far, then please like and sub to show your support. It helps out a lot, as in, a lot. It's also wise to smash that bell so you... Okay, that's a pretty bad joke. Anyway, so you know when I stop listening to the voices in my head and make these vids. By the way, shout out to the person who gave me an internet membership. That's something I will cherish forever. Have a great day ahead, everyone. That's the end of part 3. Next time we will challenge Ether 11 and put an end to this madness.